Welcome back to Patriot Network TV. It pains me to say this, but the President of the United States, my president, BHO, Barack Hussein Obama, has been out lying to the public again. And I want to quote him exactly, and I want to give you these 44 words that he spoke the other day in a speech. He said, "We have less than 2% of the world's oil reserves. We're running out of places to drill. We're running out of oil. We need to end our $4 billion in annual taxpayer subsidies to oil companies. We need to invest in clean, renewable energy." Where's Joe Wilson when you need him to jump up and say that's a lie? Now, I don't expect Mr. Obama, who isn't trained in the natural sciences, he's not a statistician, he doesn't spend any time studying anything that is outside of his interest area. He is what we like to refer to as a fanatic, and a fanatic is someone who won't change their mind and they won't shut up. The essence of the actual statistical reality of the U.S. and oil reserves and energy reserves is absolutely different than what the president said. First of all, this 2% line is an old Sierra Club line, and it is an absolute falsehood. It was false when it was spoken the first time, it's false today. And I want to quote not any private sector firm, I want to quote the U.S. federal government, I want to quote the Congressional Research Service, and this is study number R40872, and the title of the study is U.S. Fossil Fuel Resources Terminology Reporting and Summary. In this study, and this is a 2009 publication date, it's 2 years out of date, and they've added an addendum. They've discovered even more oil and other resources since then. In this, they say that the United States has more energy resources in terms of fossil fuel than China, Saudi Arabia, and Canada combined. Now, if that isn't enough, the USGS, the United States Geological Survey, just released the World Petroleum Assessment for 2011. And they have a dandy little slide where they show, and you can't quite see this, I'll put this digitally into the speech today, but what this shows is all these little bars. This is a classic bar chart. Well, the biggest, tallest bar over here on the end, that's the United States of America. And let me just read the title to you. World Fossil Fuel Resources. America leads in recoverable fossil fuel supplies. And in barrel of oil equivalent, and this is scaled in billions, billions of barrel of oil equivalent, we have 1.324 trillion. That's more than Russia, more than Saudi Arabia, more than China, more than Iran, more than Canada, more than Iraq, all the way down. So not only is the president lying when he says we have 2% of the world's oil, that's false. We have more oil than any other country on earth. We also have more coal. We have 28% of the world's coal. No other country holds that much. Russia's in second with 19%. Of this 28%, half of it's in Alaska, and it's low sulfur coal. Now, this does not count the huge predominance that we have in oil shale. And I just want to read to you real quickly. This is a study that was done by the Department of Energy with help from the RAND Corporation. This is their executive summary. The U.S. oil shale resource base. And this is talking about all of our various shale oil resources, but it is singling out a single one. The largest known oil shale deposits in the world are in the Green River Formation, which covers portions of Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming. Estimates of the oil resource in place in economically recoverable quantities range from 1.5 to 1.8 trillion barrels. That is enough to run the United States for the next 900 years at the current level of production, at the current level of consumption, excuse me, and even if we build in a very strong increase factor in our use of fossil fuels, it would run just that field, just the Green River Formation would run the U.S. for 400 years. Now, that doesn't count the Bakken field, North and South Dakota and eastern Montana. And the Bakken field is a great place to point out one of the realities of oil exploration. 1995, they said there were 456 million barrels of oil in the Bakken field. 10 years later, in 1995, after they'd started to take oil out of that formation, they revised the estimate up by a factor of 10. It was then 4.5 billion barrels. On 60 Minutes last weekend, the governor of Montana, Governor Schweitzer, said Montana alone has 45 billion barrels. So the next time the president gets up and says we only have 2% of the world's oil energy, just say, just like Joe Wilson, jump up and say that's a lie. God bless the United States of America.